Good morning and welcome to another episode of Marie's Bundesliga Minutes for the transfer exchange. As you can see this morning, it's Sunday morning here in New York City. I'm reporting from Moynihan Hall at Penn Station and we have Madison Square Garden right there. So I hope this is okay and that you can hear me well over the sound of the traffic. For this week, we have a couple of things to look at. First of all, Bayern Munich's convincing victory against Werder Bremen yesterday. I think in many ways this illustrated why Bayern and also the German national team have such a good short to medium term future. Bayern has the players Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané, Leon Goretzka and Joshua Kimmich, also Niklas Süle, who are all of the 1995 and 1996 generation and have played with each other for a really long time. They're all very good personal friends, especially Kimmich and Goretzka, who last year received a lot of attention and acclaim for their We Kick Corona charitable initiative that supported causes related to coronavirus relief in German society, and they managed to raise 5 million euros with the support of many football players, including Mats Hummels, Benedikt Hövedes and others. So slight distraction there, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Sané and Gnabry are of course the new Ribéry and Robben, so to speak, although Kingsley Coman has a thing to say or two about that as well. And that generation in general, also for the German national team, is so promising. You can add to that guys like Timo Werner, who are at other clubs, and you really have a great young kind of framework, a compass, so to speak, for the future years, similar to the generation of Müller and Schweinsteiger and Philipp Lahm before them. Now, another team that we have to focus on, as promised in the preview, is of course again Schalke. It came out on Friday that a group of influential Schalke supporters from the German business world and political landscape approached Ralf Rangnick, the renowned philosopher and guru of German football who helped build up Hoffenheim and Leipzig, and he apparently has tentatively agreed to return to Schalke. Now, why do I say return to Schalke? It's because he was already with the club twice, in 2011 and 2005, and at both times he was very, very successful. In 2011, he unfortunately suffered from a burnout and had to give up the club, but that was the same season that Schalke would go on to win the German Cup and had a Champions League run until the semi-final, with Manuel Neuer being very much the star of that campaign. And Rangnick was really the last coach at Schalke who played attacking football. Of course, he had players like Jefferson Farfan and Raúl and Klaas-Jan Huntelaar at his disposal. Sorry, not Raúl. Raúl came later. But this was very much a different Schalke, but he instilled in them a winning mentality and attacking football. And at his future stops in Hoffenheim and Leipzig, he showed his strategic acumen as well, building up teams from lower divisions, with infusing them with young blood, young, talented, hungry players, and players that really grew with those clubs. Now you just need to look at the example of Yusuf Paulsen or Emil Forsberg, two players that started with Leipzig that joined Leipzig when Leipzig was in the second division and are now playing Champions League football. Hoffenheim as well, Hoffenheim developed players like Firmino, and they're a really, really strong team now, thanks to Ralf Rangnick. And if Schalke were to actually attract Ralf Rangnick back to the club, it would be a really big deal for them, especially because he's also been considered a potential option to take over the German national team after the Euros in the summer from Joachim Löw. Now, why is this still something that's talked about? Well, it turns out this influential group hadn't consulted Jens Buchta, the head of the advisory board at Schalke. Instead, they had approached one other man in the advisory board, and when the Bild Zeitung and Sport 1 and the Funke Medien Group, so some of the three most influential newspapers that deal with Schalke, released this information, this plan on Friday, the advisory board was actually in session deciding who they wanted to install. Buchta's favorite candidate was Markus Krösche, a young GM who's currently at RB Leipzig and was previously at SC Paderborn and led them to the first division. A very, very good expert man, but because of all the rumors surrounding Rangnick, Krösche has now said that he's not available for the Schalke position. And the advisory board, according to multiple media reports, was kind of overwhelmed and a little offended that these news reached the public before they reached the advisory board. And I think they've been hurt in their pride by the fact that this influential group of Schalke supporters managed to approach Ralf Rangnick when in the past the advisory board has not managed to do that. So there's a little bit of a power struggle going on, a bit of an ego trip by many people. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Now, I did a Twitter poll last week about which topics you might want me to cover. And there are two that emerged as the most popular. One being Gladbach under Marco Rose, and the other potential summer transfers. And in some ways, I'm going to combine the two. Now, Gladbach has lost 6 consecutive games in the Bundesliga. They're really in crisis, and a lot of that has to do with the announcement that Marco Rose is leaving the club in the summer to join Borussia Dortmund. But I wanted to actually highlight this because I really looked at the game versus Augsburg this week, and Gladbach was very, very good. They were very dominant. The star players like Florian Neuhaus, Markus Thuram, Alessandro Plea really performed highly, and they should have scored more goals. So I wanted to point that out, that Gladbach, in certain games still showing its usual style of play, and that some of it has to do with poor luck as well. And why do I link this to potential summer transfers? Well, Florian Neuhaus, who actually scored against Augsburg, is one of the most exciting young German talents. He's a central midfielder, a real goal-scoring threat, a number 8 player who is very much box-to-box, has great technical abilities, likes to shoot from long range, and in some ways is reminiscent of Leon Goretzka to me. And Bayern Munich has been linked with him pretty much for the past few months consistently. Borussia Dortmund is apparently also interested, and I expect that some Premier League and La Liga clubs will also join the race for Neuhaus. I think Neuhaus, if he were to leave Gladbach in the summer, which is likely if Gladbach misses European qualification, would cost upwards of 30 or 40 million euros. He's young, he's 22 years old. He's experienced. He's played second and first division football for a couple of years. He was with Fortuna Düsseldorf for a few years in the second league. Just for one season. So he's definitely a player to watch. Another player I could see leaving the Bundesliga or going to Bayern Munich, which is typically what the best players do. They either go to the Premier League or to Bayern Munich, is Riedle Baku. Now, Baku is a fullback who plays with Wolfsburg, and he's been so good for Wolfsburg this season and for the German under-21 national team that the 22-year-old has already been capped by the German national team under Joachim Löw, and I expect he will play a role at the Euros this summer, perhaps even be a starter. He performed extremely well against Schalke, was involved in some of the 5 goals that Wolfsburg scored against Schalke this weekend, and he's really developed a lot. He's a very intelligent player. He previously was at Mainz, where he played as a number 6, so a defensive midfielder. Now he plays as a fullback, and he's very dynamic, likes to run up and down the line, very good crosses, good technical ability, good strength. So that's definitely a player to watch in a position that is troublesome, not just for the German national team, but that a position, and the fullback is a position that is very much in demand in international football. There are very few world-class players, so having a 22-year-old with such high potential is going to be attractive to many clubs in the summer. Even if Wolfsburg makes the Champions League qualification, it will be interesting if they can keep Baku. Now, that's it for me for today. As ever, if you have any suggestions of what you want me to cover, please follow me on Twitter at Marie Schubo. That's MarieSchubo. and contact me on there. And yeah, follow the Bundesliga Exchange Show, and I'll see you again next Sunday. Thanks. Bye.